Hey guys! Welcome to Turkish Spotlight Secrets. All the details are in our video, and you know how we do it here. We dive into what everyone's whispering about and give you the full picture. Don't forget to subscribe before we get into it, you won't want to miss what came out of last night. The red carpet at this year's most anticipated awards lit up like a thunderclap, and the moment that swallowed the night whole was the sudden convergence of Gökberk Yıldırım and Cemre Arda. Though they arrived through separate entrances, intentional or not, the crowd practically crackled when they appeared within the same frame. Two names that carry their own gravity, stepping into one corridor of light at the same time. The air changed. People gasped. Phones lifted. And then the flashes. So many flashes. It happened like this, as Gökberk and his team rounded a corner to settle in for the signature pose line. Cemre glided into view in a red dress that made every lens tilt its neck. Studio photographers lost their minds trying to capture both faces in the same click, calling names at once, stumbling over each other for the angle. The noise spiked, and for a heartbeat the two just blinked through the storm, cheeks cooling under the white-hot flicker. Witnesses swear there was a tiny hello, a nod and a murmur that could have been anything, but the red carpet current dragged them in opposite directions. That sliver of connection was all it took. Social media ignited within minutes, exploding with lines like, "Did the energy drop just then or was it just me?" And "Those flashes didn't stop for a full minute," and "No way this was random." An event coordinator later said, "We haven't seen that many cameras lock onto a single spot in ages." The sentence ricocheted around the venue. It became the unofficial slogan of the evening. What fed the frenzy even more was the couple's recent hush. Gökberk Yıldırım and Cemre Arda are not strangers to attention, but the weeks leading up to the ceremony had been unusually quiet for them. No joint appearances, no interviews together, no breezy cafe snapshots. Work, schedules, life. That's what their circles said. And yet, seeing them inches apart without a shared pose felt like a message everyone was trying to decode. Backstage, whispers swelled. People wondered if they would cross paths again during the program, but both chose their lanes and stuck to them. The awards unfolded, but the red carpet moment pinned the night to its wall. The show itself, with all its carefully planned reveals, couldn't compete with the single minute that everyone craved to replay. Reports trickling from the corridors painted a more chaotic picture than what the audience saw. The aisles clogged repeatedly as photographers chased not the winner's list but the proximity of Gökberk and Cemre. At one point, Cemre's colleagues, stylists and friends, formed a gentle wall as she made her way past a knot of cameras toward the lounge area. Meanwhile, Gökberk ran late to his appointed interview slot because he couldn't cut through the sudden crowds. What was supposed to be a straightforward press rotation turned into a maze. By mid-evening, the rumors had split into camps. Some insisted the red carpet exchange was cool and clipped, the kind of greeting you give when you're balancing composure and storm. Others argued that both were simply modeling professionalism, no theatrics, no mess, because that's how they do it. No one could agree on tone, but everyone agreed on impact. The atmosphere changed the second they were seen together, even if the moment lasted less than a breath. People inside the industry weren't surprised that they drew attention. They were surprised by how tense it felt. How quick the hush fell before the clickstorm roared. Then came the hypothesis that leapt from one backstage pocket to another. Were they orbiting the same secret project? Something unannounced? The idea ballooned with every passing hour. It didn't matter if anyone had facts. The uncertainty became fuel. By the end of the ceremony, the exits got as much attention as the winners. Gökberk slipped out first, choosing speed over spectacle, while Cemre departed later through a back route with her team. Neither of them said a word to the press waiting outside. The silence turned the encounter into folklore before the night was even over. In the calm that followed the clamor, an internal note from the organizers surfaced in whispers. Apparently, Gökberk and Cemre were never meant to be shepherded into the press zone within the same time block. Somewhere, something was shuffled. A tiny oversight, a minor timing hitch, enough to plant them within breathing distance and turn it into the defining image of the event. And still, that small glitch didn't dilute the legend, it made it. Inside the interview room, journalists later said that Gökberk kept his usual poise but wore the remnants of adrenaline on his jawline. He answered questions, stayed on message, but there was that unmistakable edge, the body remembering flashes and noise. Cemre, for her part, was hyper-focused on discussing her current work. No sidesteps, no tells. The kind of grounded presence that says, what you came for is the craft. Even so, some attendees claimed that once organizers realized the couple might cross, they subtly rerouted the flow of people to keep a second collision from happening. By the time the final song played and the ballroom emptied, those few seconds on the carpet were the only thing anyone wanted to talk about. The feeds filled with split-screen captures, the two of them under the same snowfall of light. Was it coincidence? Was it strategy? Was it the night writing itself? Neither of them stepped in to frame the narrative, and that vacuum bred 100 versions of truth. Morning brought fresh oxygen to the flames. New angles started to appear, crisper, closer, slowed down. And suddenly there it was, undeniable, Cemre pausing as the corridor widened, her gaze flicking toward the surge of flashes ahead. She caught sight of Gökberk in a turn of the shoulder, and her steps shortened by a fraction, like a dancer hitting a mark just in time. Almost simultaneously, you could see the lanterns of light swing as photographers pivoted toward her, and Gökberk, in that same sliver of time, looked startled by the shift of focus gathering at his side. Commentators called it the pivot point of the evening. A blink that bent the line of the night. Reporters tried every back channel they had to pull comments from friends, stylists, anyone within a phone call's reach. Nothing. One production assistant, someone who would know how nights like this are stitched together, suggested people shouldn't inflate a moment that still fit inside professional boundaries. He said neither of them stepped over any line, they carried themselves like the experienced names they are. Of course, that didn't stop the tabloids from dressing the moment in prophecy. The prelude to a new chapter. Because that's what this looked like to everyone starving for subtext, either a step toward a reveal or a page turning in a story already underway. When the official photos were released later that day, the conversation hit a second peak. There was one shot, just one, where they existed inside the same still, no contact, no pose, no coordinated angle, just two presences caught by the same river of flash. And the internet did what it does best. Divided, debated, dissected. Meanwhile, those who were actually there kept repeating the same line, "It's been a long time since we've seen that much attention condense into a single spot." The phrase became a chorus, echoing from makeup vans to car rides home. What makes this moment so sticky, beyond the glimmer and the guesses, is what it says about Gökberk and Cemre together. Their names, when paired, draw a warmer flame than any trophy can. Even when they choose restraint, the air between them becomes a screen everyone wants to project a story onto. Maybe it's because their public image mixes tenderness with mystery, soft smiles in some months, deep privacy in others. Maybe it's because they have always refused to narrate themselves on command. Inside that red dress, Cemre understood theater as well as anyone on that carpet. She knew the color, the hour, the power of a pause. Inside that tailored suit, Gökberk knew control, timing, the discipline of looking into the light and not flinching. Put them near each other and the cameras stop being tools, they become characters, impatient and needy. And yet, beyond the staging, there were practicalities, scheduling grids that don't care about emotions, a room flow diagram that didn't account for a tiny time slip, publicists whispering contingency routes, assistants with headsets improvising traffic control. Tiny decisions made in seconds that transformed into the story of the night. As the day wore on, timelines filled with theories. Some fans argued the couple was simply avoiding spectacle, that they wanted the night to be about the craft, the awards, the colleagues. Others ran with the idea that a shared project was brewing and that the restraint was a strategic hint. A few leaned into the drama, insisting the greeting's temperature meant something more delicate. But here's the hinge. Regardless of the take, everyone kept watching. The mystery didn't push people away, it pulled them in. Of course, silence is its own statement. Neither Gökberk nor Cemre has offered clarity, and that sustained hush has turned the moment into an installment, as if we're waiting for episode 2. Public schedules are being parsed like scripts: where they'll be next, who else will be in the room, how close the seats will be. It's a game of inches now, and those inches feel like headlines. Inside crew circles, more pragmatism, a quiet acknowledgement that a minor technical hiccup reshuffled arrivals at the top of the carpet, just enough to thread those two paths into one corridor. That explanation would extinguish most fires, if anyone wanted the blaze to end. But clearly, the night had other plans. Look closely at the footage again. Slow it down. There's that second where the light swings and you see both faces adjusting, Cemre's breath settling, Gökberk's jaw resetting. It's tiny. It's human. It's the material that fans stitch into myth. And that's the pull here, the difference between what happened and what it means. Because sometimes meaning outruns fact, and that's how a few seconds get etched into a season. Before we close, one more beat: officialdom can try to nudge the narrative toward logistics and professionalism, and they're not wrong. But the pulse of the night belonged to something less neat. It belonged to the possibility that two people can step into the same bright square and change the weather. That was true last night. It will be true tomorrow, when new events spin up and everyone wonders if there will be a rematch, a second surprise that makes the cameras cry out again. If it happens, it'll pour fuel on a fire that hasn't cooled since those first flashes. For now, the memory stands: Gökberk leaving in a hurry, Cemre slipping out a quiet door, both trusting silence to hold. One photo, one shared beam, a chorus of "was it planned, or did the night make the plan?" And around them, an industry that pretends to be immune to spectacle even as it lives on it, repeating the line like a refrain: "It's been a long time since this many lenses wanted the same heartbeat." That's the story from our vantage point, stitched from angles, whispers, and the kind of images that won't sit still. We'll be here watching the next move, the next room, the next corridor where paths might cross again. If there's a second meeting, you know what it will do: it'll take a moment and turn it into a chapter. This is Turkish Spotlight Secrets. If you liked traveling through last night with us, subscribe and share so you don't miss what comes next. Because in this city, the light is always about to swing.